County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. In addition, today, as always, we're on Birmingham area municipal access. Our television stations are on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. In addition, today, as always, we're on the radio, 88.1 WBFH, The Biff in Bloomfield Hills, and 89.3 Lakes FM in the greater West Bloomfield area. On the web, civiccentertv.com, click on the small player at the top right of our homepage, or select Watch Live on your browser on either your cell phone, your mobile device such as a tablet, or your computer. And we're also on Facebook via Facebook Live, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM. And as always, joining me here in the studio is Ronnie Dahl.
Tyler, you seem a little flustered.
I'm pretty peeved, honestly. Some things have gone and malfunctioned at the last minute. They were fine on Friday, and they're not right now. And so I've been running around like a madman for the last 5 minutes before the show to get it all ready, and I'm pretty frustrated with things. I know what the problems are, but there's no way to get them right while we're in process. So here we are. Happy Monday. It's also about 8,000 degrees in here. I'm going to have to call Dave Alberry after the show, because apparently with the power outage on Friday, which once again took our building out, of course now we've had our generator fixed, so theoretically that shouldn't be a problem any further going forward, but apparently had an impact on our AC system here, and now we're back to, I guess we're back, it threw it back to January and tossed the heat on, so it's about 9,000 degrees. And this shirt is not the best shirt for that because it's polyester, so I'm dying over here.
I always wonder, would you rather be too hot or too cold?
Too cold. I can figure out a way to get myself warm, but too hot? No. There's no going back from that.
I'd rather be too hot.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I can put more layers on. I can build a fire. I can, go jump into an incinerator and get warm. Whatever I got to do. But if you're too hot, Good luck building ice in 95-degree weather.
But I remember, back in the day when you're reporting outside and it's so cold that, your ink pens don't work.
Oh, yeah.
And your mouth freezes up. Like, you really can barely talk because it is so cold.
We had a big day back in, I believe it was December. Donovan Edwards, of course, star running back for 4 years over at West Bloomfield High School, was announcing where he was going to be signing on National Signing Day. He did, of course, go and decide to, much to my chagrin, play for the University of Michigan. And it was a big day. It was not only him, but it was, I believe, 7 other athletes that day that were signing in that afternoon. And we went live throughout the entire thing. And I, of course, was on air talent for it. And so I was out there the entire time. Mind you, it's December, so it's already cold. But it was also blustering, snowy, very windy conditions. And by the time I got back here, let's just say, you know how when you're a kid and your parents would be making dinner and they take something out of the freezer and they want something out of the freezer and they'd say, hey, before I go to work today, before you go to school, take that out of the freezer. There's going to be hell to pay when you get home today. Well, I needed to be taken out of the freezer before the parents left for the day by the end of that one, because, man, it took a while for me to de-thaw. I'm still probably de-thawing, as we're talking about. Luckily, it's so warm.
And then, your skin gets itchy when you start to warm up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was fun.
Good times. Other than that, how was your weekend, Tyler?
Other than that, not too bad. Other than that, the weekend was nice and relaxing, which is great because that went out the door pretty quick.
I was able to get my paddleboard out on Saturday and Sunday. It is so much harder than it looks. And it also depends on the board because mine is a hybrid. And so it's not a really large board, which sometimes when you're a beginner, you like those bigger ones. But I mean, those are like so hard to get on your car, off your car, especially if you're doing things by yourself. And so mine is one that you can manage. And I will say I'm so glad I got a hybrid because for the most part, I use the kayak portion where I'm just sitting down. And yesterday, every time I tried to stand up, I was right in the water. Every single time.
All the more reason why, as you said, it's good that you have the kayak portion because, you can do that a few times and be like, okay, well, enough people have seen this already. It's better to just not add to the embarrassment and, let my ego off easy here and just kayak the rest of the way. Maybe I'll practice this, when there's not a bunch of people out here on the water so I can get that balance down.
Yeah. So, but
good times.
I will say I can feel it today. My arms are so sore. And so we were out like all day yesterday. I don't think I got home until like 9:30 last night. And I'm like, you feel it in your arms and your back, especially when you haven't been working out.
Oh, yeah.
So, Henry Ford hospital employees, hundreds of them spent their weekend protesting.
They did.
So the Henry Ford hospital employees and their supporters spending the weekend out protesting against the mandatory COVID vaccines. Remember, we had Eric Wallace on with us last week talking about this. Henry Ford Health Systems announced it would require all hospital workers, including students, volunteers, and contractors, to be fully vaccinated for COVID by September 10th. Workers who opt not to get fully vaccinated could risk losing their jobs. So many of the protesters expressed concern regarding the safety of the vaccine, as well as what they see as a violation of their right to personal freedom under the Constitution of the United States, as well as a violation of privacy laws and federal laws restricting release of the medical information. However, the chief operating officer at Henry Ford Health really just pointed out that the COVID vaccine policy is in keeping with existing policy requiring employees to be vaccinated for various things, such as the flu, measles, mumps, so that, they're saying this is an extension of that. You work in the healthcare industry. And we already know that the federal courts in Houston ruled in favor of a healthcare hospital out there. So I would expect we're going to see this more in the coming months.
Yeah, and you have a right to decide whether or not you want to get vaccinated against COVID-19, whether it's the right thing for you. But by the same token, these companies have a right to decide whether or not they're going to require the vaccine as a condition of employment in their health system. They're looking out for the safety of their patients first and foremost, and the spread of COVID-19 to unvaccinated people from patients or from unvaccinated employees to patients. It could be extremely serious, especially right now with the Delta variant going around, with the Gamma variant going around, concerns all throughout the country and throughout the world with that at this present time. This is something that some employers are going to require, and if you don't like it, you have the right to. There's plenty of other jobs that are out there right now.
Yeah, but if you've been working for a company for 15 years, and then, this is mandated, I mean, you're walking away from your pension and so many other things. And yes, there are healthcare jobs widely available right now, but, there's more than just your position that so many people work or stay with a company for. I think Delta Airlines, how they're doing it is all new employees coming in have to be vaccinated. The ones that are already employed, it's not mandated, but highly encouraged.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a mixed bag of this throughout different industries, throughout the healthcare industry and throughout businesses all throughout the country that are going to decide whether or not to have mandates or how they implement their mandates. But the fact of the matter is that these are not going to become more commonplace as time goes on, especially as we're in a position where it doesn't look like we're going to reach that herd immunity point anytime soon. And even after those conversations like we had last week with Dr. Russell Faust from the Oakland County Health Division, where as these variants start popping up, that 70% benchmark might get moved even further forward to beyond 70%. And that based on what research comes forward, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but these are going to be things that are going to be considered by a lot of companies going forward and a lot of different sectors going forward because of the fact that our vaccination process has so severely slowed down.
So the University of Michigan, a lot of the faculty in a survey, they support mandatory COVID-19 vaccination. Most instructors at the University of Michigan think COVID-19 vaccination should be mandatory for all faculty, staff, and students with limited medical or religious exceptions, or if not, instructors should be able to opt out of in-person instruction. So they did the survey, and pretty much it came back that they're all in favor of that. Now, one thing, though, is if they were to go forward with this, it wouldn't be put in place for the upcoming fall semester. Remember, though, students are being required, if they live on campus, to be vaccinated. It's been, obviously, this continues to be an issue that's debated across the country and here in the state of Michigan, and it's going to continue on, I think, for the next few weeks as well. I will say, though, it's kind of, for the people, you kind of wonder about this, hey, if you don't get vaccinated, then you get to, teach remotely. You wonder, too, if some offices do that. Well, if I want to work remotely, I'll be like, no, I'm not vaccinated. I'm staying remote, right? So you wonder how that's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, we have spoken before with some employment attorneys that have said that businesses do have the right to ask for you to provide some proof of your vaccination. So, of course, that's a easy counter for these businesses. But I would imagine that if someone's like, yeah, well, if I can do my job remotely and I either can or cannot be or am not vaccinated and I can do my job remotely, why not do it remotely? I think businesses need to be considering that one way or another. But yeah, I think there's definitely a scenario where some businesses would say, well, if you can still work for us, but you have to go remotely, and then you have people that have been vaccinated say, well, what the hell? I got vaccinated. I can do my job remotely. Why do I still need to, pay the gas for the commute each day? So again, like everything else with these vaccine requirements and how companies are navigating this, there has to be some sort of balance in there to where people that are vaccinated, that have done so, and people that have not been vaccinated are still able to have some sort of equal system in place, especially regarding things like remote work and the proximity to other people in the business.
So I know that at some of the TV stations here in town, employees were asked to, if they got vaccinated, to provide that information, and it wasn't mandated, but if you are vaccinated and you've shown proof of your vaccination, you don't have to wear a mask when you're in the office. If not, then you have a mask on. And I think that right there is telling. It's like, well, we're not making it public, your medical record, but obviously you can figure it out by who's wearing a mask and who isn't, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's a tough time for so many companies and organizations to navigate this. Hey, but another sign that we're going in the right direction, DNR, customer service centers, are going to be reopened to the public. Michigan Department of Natural Resources is resuming some regular operations that were suspended due to the pandemic. So starting this week, some customer service centers and field offices are going to be open to the public on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays through Labor Day. Staff in the offices will be selling hunting and fishing licenses and fuel wood permits. All customer service centers, field offices, and other destinations are expected to return to their pre-pandemic office hours September 7th. The DNR also says that headquarters buildings at state parks and recreation areas, state-managed harbors, and DNR shooting ranges are open. I know for some people that are kind of last-minute people getting those licenses, that means a lot.
Yeah, especially as we're as far into the summer as we are, and people want to get back out and have that form of recreation, and some of them have been extra cautious, whether they've been vaccinated or not to go out into these public places during the summer, and or were cautious earlier on when they normally would have been getting their licenses and so on and so forth. And so now they're having an opportunity to do that, and having those services be available in places that are nearby where people are living is going to be extremely helpful for them, because going out of your way to get these licenses in many cases just for something you're doing recreationally is not entirely worthwhile.
Yeah, because you wonder how many people have been doing it without getting the proper license.
Plenty.
So with that as a reminder, you can always check out the latest headlines. Just go to civiccentertv.com, click on coronavirus, yes. And then at the top of the page, that's where you'll find direct links as well to the CDC, the state of Michigan, Oakland County as well, so that you can read some of the information as it's developing from our experts for yourself. With that, we'll take a break here on the Megacast. Get the show rolling on this Monday morning in the 10 o'clock hour. We'll be speaking with the early childhood specialist over at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. Talking about that summer slide. What can kids do? Well, that's next here on the Megacast. And then coming up at 10:40, Lions Superfan. Crackman's going to be with us. Have you ever met him?
I've not. No, I've not met Crackman before. I'm excited.
Everyone get ready, because he is truly a character.
Yes.
But we'll get his take on being loud back into the football games. So all of that coming up in the 10 o'clock hour of the Megacast.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Can I ask you a question?
Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get vaccinated?
I'd like to go to these school dances and spring break to have fun.
I want to be in person for college next semester.
I want to get out of this pandemic.
I wanted to protect the people around me.
Why did you get vaccinated?
Because I'm really looking forward to hanging out with my friends.
I just want to go to a show, dance around, not have to worry about anything, feel like I'm free again.
So we can not miss out on the best years of our life.
Welcome back to the Megacast.
What a month.
It's Monday.
It definitely is. It feels like it.
So we've been having a few technical difficulties here at the station, and Tyler's a little frustrated. But, it's Monday. Get it out of the way today.
Right, exactly. What are you going to do?
For so many kids, boy, what a year it's been for them. But usually in the summertime, we know that there is always that learning loss in the summertime.
Yes.
But what's it like this year because of the pandemic? Do they have extra catching up to do? So let's bring in Julie Moore. She's the early childhood specialist over at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. Julie, great to have you with us. Happy Monday to you.
Happy Monday to you guys.
I hope yours is going a little bit better than ours over here, but
sounds like it. Yes.
I made no secret. The public library is one of my absolute favorite places. And when I was a little kid, I remember walking to the public library every Saturday and just getting lost in the books for hours. How is it this year? Are you guys open? Is it pretty much back to normal?
Well, we are open. We are returning to normal. We are not quite at full normal yet, but we are returning to that phase at this time. So right now we're still asking that people limit their visits to about 45 minutes in the building, but they are able to come in, browse the material, check out those items on their own. So that really does give the children especially, and even our adults, it just takes touching that book to find the right one. So we're glad that people are able to come in at this point.
Because it is so different than looking online, and you recommended for you and this, that, and the other, but it's still, I feel like you don't explore or, discover new authors or new topics because you're not browsing the shelves. And we know we don't really have bookstores anymore.
This is true. That's true. Yeah, it's definitely a different experience to try and catch that book that you love online. And, we tried our best to get those lists out there, that things that you might love if you loved this type of book or this author. And those are always great, and those are always going to be available. But just being able to, like you said, browse those shelves and see those titles in front of you, you never know what's going to speak to you when you see it right in your face.
So how is it on the children's side of the house? Which, by the way, I wish I was a kid so I could go and play at the library. I mean, when we were little, it wasn't that cool.
Right. I mean, right now we're still operating in that less capacity stage. And so in the children's room, our toys are still not available. We're still not having those items out for children to be able to come in and hang out. So it's really more of an opportunity just to come in and browse those collections and get those books. And we've really tried to put up some displays that kind of catch your eye and bring some new titles to the forefront, and to bring just some joy and excitement as you walk into the room, because it definitely is not the place that you left a year and a half ago at this point, but it will be back, and it'll be better than ever.
Again, we're talking with Julie Moore. She's the early childhood specialist over at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. And we know the summer slide that, normally happens outside of a pandemic. Is it worse this year?
Well, I mean, a general summer sees about a 20% decrease in academic skill for our children, especially our elementary age children, as they head back to school in the fall. Wow. While the pandemic is making that number, slightly elevated, our elementary students were really kind of going throughout the year a little strong on staying in the same type of learning environment with that hybrid model at the West Bloomfield schools. So it really, we're not seeing a huge spike yet, but it'll be interesting to see what happens as we head back in the fall. But that 20% is a big number, and just by reading, the experts say about 4 books a summer. 4 books during the summer can really keep that 20% slide from happening at any time. So it really doesn't take a lot of work to help our kids during the summer. So we're just excited that they can get those books so that we can get those 4 books read throughout the summer.
So with that, I know that the library typically has a summer reading program. How does that look this year?
So our summer reading program is back this year. At this point, we are numbers are looking really good. People are enrolling. People are coming. Our families and our adults alike are taking part in summer reading. This summer, you can read to earn books from our summer reading book fair, but then we also have some fun little activities that you can do at home that just kind of strengthen your learning and your skills throughout the summer. So it may be something as simple as reading a different type of book than you normally read, or it may be something like doing a little special craft project where this summer our theme is Tales and Tales, and so maybe you're making an animal out of recycled materials to just kind of make your own little animal craft for the summer. So we've tried to pull in reading and learning and put them together in a fun, easy way for families to do together.
So we know that, kids under the age of 12 still cannot be vaccinated. So is there some type of program for parents that are uncomfortable with, taking their kids into public places?
Right. At this time, we still are running all of our summer programs virtually. So if parents and children alike want to join for magic shows and puppet shows each week, we meet on Tuesdays at 10:30, where we have a fun show that we present. And then each week we also have an early childhood program where our families can check out a backpack that they use from home that has materials in it that we learn with together. And then there's a school age section as well with library adventures where school agers check out at the same type of backpack. One of the librarians are online with you once a week, and we do science and math and different types of building and learning together so that we can keep that mind active throughout the summer.
And that's so much more fun than just allowing your kids to veg out in front of the TV or in front of the computer, watching and, playing games or this, that, and the other. They're actually still learning.
Right. It's a very intentional use of screen time. So there's a method to what we're doing. There's a reason behind the learning that we're bringing forth. And it really does give that screen time just a nice a reason to be on there, a good learning time for them.
Plus, when you get that alert from your tablet, it says your screen time is up, 5 hours of whatever amount of time. Although I will say over the past year, I'll throw that out the window, right?
Yeah, I know, right? That was a really nice ad from Apple at a good time, right?
Right, exactly. And so can I ask too, how do you keep the programs engaging virtually? How do you come up with them?
Yeah, really just kind of taking the best of what we do in person and bringing it online. But by creating those backpacks where the children at home are being able to touch the same materials that we're touching at the same time really makes all the difference. And we do have programs where we maybe don't have that backpack. And in those programs, we try to make sure we're doing active movement and engaging activity where the kids are up, down, moving around with us. It really just tries to keep their engagement with us. And we keep the numbers lower so that the kids that are joining us, we are able to interact with one-on-one. And so like the library adventures and the preschool programs both had to add programs because of the interest that we had. But we try to keep the group down to a minimal size so that we can be able to see what they're doing, talk to them specifically, call out children by name, really makes the whole experience much more like being together.
I was shocked when I went to, I think someone had a baby or something. I was looking at books. I couldn't believe how expensive children's books are now. And I was like, whoa. And you think about kids and they have so many, especially at the younger age because they like to tear the pages and all of that. So the library really is value. It's so valuable, that library card.
Yeah, it really it makes such a difference, and the items that we have available expand so far beyond the books that are in the library. And it just occurred to me as you were asking about what people could do if they're not comfortable coming into the library. The library does still offer a very robust e-resources services. So we have a lot of stuff available to families online. And that could be something as easy as reading a book online through Tumble Books, where you can pull the book up in front of you and read it with your child, or your older children can read it on their own. All the way up to the MAP program, which is, if you haven't used one of the MAP passes yet, they are a phenomenal experience. Basically, you're checking out a pass from the library to art museums in the neighborhood. And many of them are free admission or discounted heavily for you to be able to take your family in. So there's a lot of experiences available online that you don't need to come into the library to do if you're still not in that place.
Julie Moore with us here on the Megacast. She's the early childhood specialist over at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. And Julie, can I ask you, I know that so many places are still struggling getting enough employees. How is the staffing level over at the library right now?
So, we were extremely lucky on the West Bloomfield Library Board made sure that all of our staff stayed working throughout the pandemic, and we did not have any furloughs. We did not have any layoffs. We all have worked and kept our jobs moving to keep the library going strong, so that all these services can be available at all times. So we're looking pretty good right now.
I know that, excuse me, I know that you probably don't see this so much because you are dealing with the kids, and these kids are so tech savvy. I mean, like 2 and 3, they can through a computer or a phone like you wouldn't believe. But I know sometimes too, I think about their parents and trying to get them to go digital and teaching them how to download books and utilize the services that are online. How's that been?
So we can help patrons do that, and that service is starting to come back, where we'll be offering, one-on-one tech time where we work with patrons to help them with those experiences. So our adult staff members really work well getting our adults onto that technology. As parents come in with their children, we're able to kind of steer them along into the areas that they need to be. And then we have a full e-resources guide online. So when they're looking for an ebook or they're looking to use one of those services, it does give a full breakdown of what you need to download, how you work it, what to click and when to click it, and it really walks you through each individual step.
Yeah, I think you should get like a virtual assistant that's like a 9 or a 10-year-old.
Right? Yeah. They're probably better than we are.
Right? I mean, these kids are amazing now, yes, and how quickly they pick up using the technology.
Absolutely. They really do. They teach us sometimes more than we teach them when it comes to the tech, that's for sure.
I don't know how many Sunday dinners I was sitting next to my niece and nephew. Show me that Snap thing again. Right. Forget TikTok. I can't figure out how to make videos on TikTok to save my life. So Julie Moore with us again on the Megacast from the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. And Julie, before we say goodbye, any other programs or anything else you want to touch on?
An interesting program that we have going on that's new this summer is our West Bloomfield Library on the craft kits. So each week, families can sign up to receive a craft bag from the library that gives you a specific project for the week. So this week we're moving into spin drums, and it gives you all the materials to make the spin drum at home, as well as a video with one of us showing you how to make the craft, as well as some directions inside. So those have been going really well throughout the summer. Our patrons seem to be really enjoying the crafts, and it just giving another thing for families to do together at home. So we've really tried to look at ways to keep our families engaged and that learning strong all summer long.
Do you think some of these programs are going to stick around?
I think so. I think there's a few that we have found that really are working well, and we also found that maybe once like the whole virtual burnout fades away, that there may be a place for a nighttime story time online, and there may be a place for certain things to kind of continue in that fashion. So we'll see how that goes as we move forward.
Julie Moore with us here on the Megacast, early childhood specialist over at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. Julie, we always appreciate having you on. Thank you for spending time with us this Monday morning.
Thank you, guys. I hope your day only goes up from here.
Exactly. Right.
It only can. Yes.
Well, Julie, a happy week to you. And again, to all the parents out there, take advantage of the library and all that it has to offer and keep your kids engaged this summer. We'll take a quick break here on the Megacast. And on the backside, when we return, Ron Crachiola, Lions Superfan, will be with us here on the Megacast.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Stay tuned. The Oakland County Megacast will return after this short break. You're listening to the Oakland County Megacast on our family of television, radio, and other media outlets. The Megacast returns in just a minute.
Trevor Project is sharing how you can support LGBTQ youth who may be at risk.
It's simple. Just show them that you care. C-A-R-E. Connect. If you noticed any warning signs of suicide from someone you know, reach out to them.
Ask directly, are you thinking about killing yourself? It might be challenging, but talking about suicide is proven to reduce risk.
Respond. If they open up to you about their suicidal ideation, honor that trust by responding with compassion and empathy.
Empower. Talking openly is a great first step, but now you can empower them with the information and the support they need to improve their situation.
Learn more about how you can show them you care and help prevent LGBTQ youth suicide. Visit trvr.org/care.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function.
Which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Great to have you with us on this Monday morning. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Tyler Keefe. We are here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon live. You can always catch us Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T. Listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff, or you can always catch us on our Facebook page as we live stream the edition of the Megacast on our social media as well. And, last year was a very hard year for so many of the Lions fans. And really, I'm like, isn't every year a hard year for Lions fans?
But yes.
But for those that rely on going to the games, because it's not just about the game, it's a community.
It is.
And one of the craziest fans out there, who is so dedicated to the Lions, Ron Crachiola, otherwise known as Crackman. He's a Lions Superfan. Crackman, great to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ronnie.
So,
thank you for having me.
Crackman, I have to ask you, what was last year like for you, not being able to go to the games?
Well, it was one of the hardest things I went through in a long time. We had a few gatherings, but it wasn't the same. It was like going to a funeral, but there was no one there. It was just eerie. My Sundays weren't the same. I mean, I'd go to church and everything like that, but on Thanksgiving Day, tradition, with annual Thanksgiving Day game, even though the players were in the stadium. But I rode down in the market, and I had my bicycle with me. So I just rode down the Quinder Cut, rode up by the Renaissance Center, and then I rode towards. There was no cars in the street. It was like the day the earth stood still. It was eerie. So it was rough. It was a hard year.
Yeah, I thought for sure, I was like, fans are still going to get together and tailgate. But no, they had the Detroit cops out, making sure that no one tailgated.
Yeah, it was. I'm the big thing right now this year. I'm just so glad we'll be in that stadium. Everybody's asking me about what do you think the Lions will be doing, their record. I'm just happy to be out there with the tailgaters and in the market and being in the stadium. Looking forward for some road games, being with my peeps, rocking it.
You guys are the craziest of fans. And how long have you been a fan?
Well, I probably, I think when I was born, I came out fist first saying, "Go Lions, baby."
But how do you stay so dedicated?
Well, it's something that, growing up, I grew up in Utica, Michigan, and my grandfather, he was a big sports fan, and in the Detroit area, my dad was. All of his buddies were. It's like it breeds into you. And the first game I went with my dad, I was about 14 down at the old Briggs Stadium there, and the crowd, and I loved it, and it just stuck with me all these years. And then you remember the Brow back in the day? He was a crazy little guy there with baseball games and football and the big eyebrows. And one of my buddies said, Crack, that's going to be like you one of these days. I said, well, we'll see. And sure enough, then I was the overhead lineman for Edison. And being a blue-collar city, probably 30-some years ago, 35, I started wearing my cut-off bibs and my line boots and then the hard hat. And things just start snowballing. And, I just love it. And it's like the look, everybody, they see me now and they go like, are you the guy? But, where's the hard hat? I said, well, it's not like football season, okay?
So
I'll have it
should
on
know,
when the season starts.
People should know, Crackman has his own card. It's like a baseball card. You're a celebrity.
Well, I don't know about that, but I have a lot of fun.
So
I'm just a normal guy that's like to have a good time, and I love Detroit Lions football. I'll stand by them till the day it's like the good Lord says, come on up and join us, big fella.
So I know that you did go on the road last year to some of the games, right?
I went to one game last year, Ronnie. We went down to, I have that Lions bus. We purchased that from the Lions. Me and my buddy Donnie Uperman, which he passed a couple of years ago. Miss him dearly, but he's with me in spirit every day. Anyway, the Lions called me and they had their bus they used to use to haul the players around, and it had a wrap on it. It's about 14 seats in it, and they said, hey, we're going to go a different direction. We'd like you to buy the bus. You want to buy the bus? I said, oh, yeah. So I talked to Donnie, so we split it. So we still have the bus, and I took it last year. Donnie's daughter wanted me, Megan, and about 6 other fans, and we took it down to Nashville. So we put about 1,700 miles on it.
Wow.
That was the only game I seen live in Nashville. There was, I think, 13,000 fans in that stadium that day.
Wow. You're a super fan if the Lions come to you and say, hey, you want to buy our bus?
Yeah, that was pretty awesome, and it was like it's right now in the UP. I was up there last couple weekends ago. We had a benefit. Donnie always has his hospice benefit, annual benefit. So they raised over $17,000 for Eastern UP Hospice. It was we had a lot of fans come in from Minnesota. One friend of mine came in from Virginia Beach. So we had a live auction up there, and it was a great turnout for the small little community, and beautiful people up there. And I know Donnie's legacy will live on through that charity.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, Ron, can I ask you, what do you think it's going to be like this year? Are all of the fans coming back? Are we going to see the hot tub over Eastern Market? Everyone will be back, do you think?
Yes, they will, Ronnie. We discussed that. The Blue Crew, the hot tubbers, the tub gators. We're going to be in full force.
What's this like for you guys? Like, I mean, are you you are like a family almost, right? You're all crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, it helps to be a little crazy, hey, I told some Detroit Lions, they make me want to drink. It helps. But, yeah, we all have a great time. We are family, not only with the local fans here. I'm family with fans through the whole country. I go to other games, states. I already got my tickets lined up for L.A. I know super fans in L.A. will meet up, we tailgate. We're a close bunch. It's like, we love each other, but game time, not so much.
It's on.
I'm rooting for the Lions. They're rooting for their team. And afterwards, we shake hands. It's almost like, they're great in the Stanley Cup and the hockey, how they all play it rough. It's tough. There's checking. There's people getting their heads beat up, bleeding. But after the game, win or lose, they line up and shake hands. It's a class act.
How much Lions gear do you have?
Well, pretty much, the house is pretty much like a museum in here. So one time I had a lady come by. I'm a big John Wayne fan too, huge John Wayne fan. And I got a lot of John Wayne pictures in here and things. And anyway, this young lady come over the house. She says, why the John Wayne and Detroit Lions? I says, well, young lady, do you see any pictures you in the house? She says, no, I don't. I said, apparently you're not as loved as the Duke and the Lions. So you're going to have to pick up your game a little bit.
We're talking with Crackman. He's one of the Lions Superfans. And Crackman, how do you get onto the field? I always see you on the field, like draft day. Down, where were you guys, in Tennessee? Here's Crackman making, a little national TV debut there.
It's a lot of times I get field passes. The Lions sometimes, always certain games, they get a hold of me and they say, hey, we've got a field pass for you, so you go down before the game starts. And, it's just being part of the family, I am so excited this year. I met, it was a really, they say what you want about Detroit Lions, but there's a class act operation. They had, like this year with Brad Holmes coming as a new GM and Dan Campbell, Chris Philman in there. They brung in a lot of quality coaches and NFL names. And when they called us, myself and 14 others, that we're fully vaccinated by April 15th, they sent us to the draft on their dime.
Wow.
We went to the draft, 14 of us, on a big bus that we met at Allen Park. We met the coaches and the GM in the lobby before we left. They gave us Bose, cordless Bluetooth, and coolers full of beer. And Dan Campbell slammed his fist down. He said, I hope you guys start drinking early today because you represent the Detroit Lions. And I'll tell you what, it was first class. And then we got down there in the inner circle and we were all sitting together. They had like iPods all set up with all NFL teams and the 14 fans. So one fan from each group. On the first pick, they went up on the stage and sat in Roger Goodell's chair. And we had a young fellow with us. His name's Joseph, great kid. He was a fan of the year. The Lions had him as a fan of the year. So he was supposed to go up there on the first pick. And all my buddies and friends started talking. They talked to Joe, and they said, no, we're sending Crack up there. He's the oldest guy here. He's been a season ticket holder over 45 years. He's almost 70 years old. I'll be 70 in January. And the young fellow was a very nice kid, intelligent. And he said, hey, I agree 100%. Crachiola should be up on there on the first pick. So, I was just, man, I was pumped. I was up there doing my dancing and rocking it, sitting in Roger's chair, and I was talking to Roger Goodell, and I was just thrilled. I didn't know where this moves came from, but I was so happy. And then I loved Panay, the first pick, because I kept telling these guys all week, I said, we need to get Panay at tackle out of Oregon. And they go, oh, no, Crack, we got to get these wide receivers. I said, hey, them wide receivers are a dime a dozen. Pretty boys that can run fast and catch footballs. You need someone to open up holes. Guarantee it. If he comes our way, the Lions will pick him. And sure enough, when Cincinnati took the receiver, I think they took Chase, and the war room in Detroit went crazy. They were pounding on the desk, and man, Panay was right there, and man, I lost. I was just, screaming, yelling up there on the stage and dancing, and so Roger Goodell was laughing. I invited him over. I said, Roger, next time in Detroit, you call me. I'll take you to a nice bar, some dump, and buy you a couple cold beers. He said, Crack, I would love that.
And Ron does know where all the dive bars are. Sure. Again, we're Ron Crachiola with us here on the Megacast. He's a Lions super fan. And so that moment up there during the draft, is that one of your highlights of being a Lions fan?
Well, that's probably the highlight, but I had another highlight, another one that's right up there too, and it's back in 2000. My grandfather was 90. He passed 97 years old, my dad's dad, and he, of course, he was a big Detroit Lions fan, and also, and he passed. Matter of fact, he passed on his anniversary in December. So my grandma passed like a year before that. That'd have been his 75th wedding anniversary.
Oh.
But the funeral was planning. We're going to Green Bay that weekend. The funeral was Saturday, and we was going to drive to Green Bay on Friday, me and my buddies. So I thought, man, I ain't missing this funeral. So just for a whim, I called down at the Silverdome on Friday or Thursday. One day I called and I talked to Chuck Schmidt. He was the president then. And I told him to explain about my grandfather passing, and I was going to Green Bay, and is there a chance I could ride on the plane with you on Saturday? I'll pay. And Chuck said, Crack, you're a devoted fan. You've done so much for this organization, charity work you've done. We don't run a charity outfit here. I'll set it all up. If you can be at the Silverdome by 2:00 in the afternoon, you fly with us. And so I said, I'll be there. So I went to the funeral. Of course, I had a suit on and a Lions tie. I went over to Silverdome, and no one even knew about it. I was out there, and everybody said, hey, Crack, hey, you seeing us off? I said, no. And then Chuck Schmidt come in and said, no, he's riding with us. And they're like, whoa, and then it was man, I know my grandfather was with me that day. That was just so amazing. On the buses, going to the metro, then we come on back, we'd get on at Northwest, and they were chartered flights then, and boarding the plane. And the stewardess knew me from previous away games. I'd be at the team hotel, and they're like, oh, Crack's with us today. This is awesome, My name was on the chair or the seat in the airplane. And I remember Stephen Boyd come up to me and says, Luther Ellis there, Charlie Batch, Kolakowski, they come up, and Boyd says, Crack, we land in Green Bay. We got to go to the team hotel. We got meetings and everything to go to. I thought maybe you could, Dean, you got a nice suit on, and there'll be fans out there. Maybe you could sign a few things. I said, I'll handle that. No problem. So that was like right up there, man. I was like pumped. So we got in the hotel, and the fans, I just signed all my best. They don't who I am or what I am or whatever. But anyway, that was a thrill. It just shows the class of the organization. And now this last time when they sent us all to the draft, I just see good things coming with this new regime.
So with that, Ron, just another minute or two here talking with you. So with that, are you telling us that the curse is lifted and this is going to be a good year?
That's a fact. Hey, shall it be said, shall it be written? The Lions are going to win the North Division. Take that to the bank, Ronnie.
I'm kind of like when hell freezes over.
Well, guess what? It's very hot in the studio today, Ronnie, so it seems like we're getting there.
Well, I'm so glad you guys are going to be able to get back in the stadium this year, because I know that it's not just a ball game. It really is a family. And I love the story about the Lions and what they did for the draft for you. Makes me like them now.
There you go. I got one in closing. You ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Forward down the field, the Lions team out will not yield. And when the blue and silver wave, stand and cheer the brave. Rah, rah, rah. Go hard, win the game. With honor we will keep our fight. Down the field and gain a Lion victory. Go Lions! Who loves you, baby? Woo!
See, already pumped.
Oh, yeah.
Already pumped.
I'm ready.
Do you have a countdown? How many days?
I believe it's about, you're talking preseason or regular?
Preseason.
Preseason game would be, 3 weeks?
Wow, that's right around the corner.
Oh, yeah, we're getting there.
Well, Ron, it's been fun having you. It's we'll see. We'll catch up a little bit later in the season. I'm sure I'll see you out.
Okay, thank you, and you all have a blessed day. Godspeed.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, my dad's birthday was last week. He just turned 94.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Doing great.
That's
and he's, of course, a big Lions fan, too.
Well, tell him we said happy birthday.
Yeah.
Will do. Over and out. Love you.
Bye, Ron. Talk about a dedicated fan.
Oh, yeah. There's no one more dedicated to the Detroit Lions fandom than Crackman over here, and such enthusiasm for the team. And you know what? Right now, there's a lot of reason for excitement. Like Crackman was talking about, Brad Holmes coming in as the new GM, Dan Campbell as the head coach. They've made some great decisions already this offseason. It's a young team. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve with a new system coming in and a very young team, but it looks like they have some direction now, and a lot of reason to be excited if you're a Detroit Lions fan for the first time in a long time.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, so I won't be well.
You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. A lot to get to in the second hour of the show. When we come back, we'll be speaking to the MLive Reporter. A lot of news going on in the state of Michigan, still with the pandemic, so we'll be talking with Taylor right after the break, and then also the new chief of police for the city of Southfield. Well, not so, 2 years, but we'll check in with Chief Barron, see how he's doing there in Southfield. That's all coming up in the 11 o'clock hour of the Megacast.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is. Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios with Mr. Tyler Keefe. As a reminder, we're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon live. You can always catch us Civic Center TV, Birmingham area municipal access. You'll find us channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T. You can also listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff, or you can catch us on Facebook, where we are live streaming today's edition of the Megacast through our social media sites. And, throughout the pandemic, there's a lot of money being thrown at this problem. Billions and billions and billions of dollars. And some of our elected leaders are acting like it's free money.
Yeah, not a surprise. I mean, you got an influx of cash coming in, and a lot of different agendas that have to be matched in order to get that money to actually go to actual people. And hopefully, some of it actually gets there.
So with that, we want to bring in Taylor DeSormeau. He's a reporter, covers the economy for MLive. Taylor, great to have you with us. How are you?
Doing good. After that last guest, I'm ready to run through a brick wall. That was a perfect Monday morning pick-me-up, I think.
Right. And anyone that's that enthusiastic about the Lions after being a Superfan for 45 years, bless their heart.
I know. I think I'm ready. I'm ready to watch them again this year.
I always say, though, don't get your hopes up. I hate when the Lions do really good in the preseason, and then when the season comes around, they fall flat.
Great backups.
If they just go to 3 quarters and not play the 4th quarter, I think they have a good chance.
Also helpful.
That is so true, Taylor. That is so true. Hey, with that, though, if we can talk a little bit, because you cover the economy. How long have you been with MLive now?
I started with them in 2016. I was based in Jackson for the first few years. In the last couple of years now, I've been covering the state economy. So definitely been a busy time for that job, no doubt.
And with that, what has it been like for you throughout the pandemic?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, for forever, businesses could just do what they want. They can make their money and so on. And with the pandemic, it really kind of it hurt a lot of businesses. They weren't able to open when they wanted to. They couldn't always sell the products they wanted to. There was a lot less demand. So it was really an unprecedented time. So there was a lot of government trying to give money to make up for some of that. A lot of different restrictions changing. It seemed like every minute there was a different restriction or changing, either being lightened or tightened. So there's definitely been a lot to follow for not just business owners, but for the average consumer too.
So with that, Taylor, I often wonder too, when we have our elected leaders and they stand in front of the podium and they give us the headline, but then when some of these programs actually get implemented, or if they do get implemented, it's about following the dollars. Have you been able to do that with some of these programs? Because we're talking about a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking trillions of dollars, so it's been interesting to follow the money. A couple of the big ones we've been following lately is the PPP money. We just had a story published about 20 minutes ago where you can go on our story and you can search any business in Michigan and see how much PPP money they got. So I think it totaled about $24 billion just to Michigan businesses, small businesses, and there was about 300,000 loans. So there's been a ton of businesses that have been able to take advantage of this. And talking to different leaders in the state, the PPP has been far and away the most successful program in helping these businesses stay afloat. There have been a lot of other ones, but a lot of times it was they were accepting just a few applicants, or maybe if they did accept everybody, there wasn't a big pot of money to go around. And with the PPP money, you both had a ton of people, a ton of businesses that got the money. And also there was a large amount of money. Some businesses even got up to $10 million in Michigan. And that really helped offset a lot of the losses, if not all of the losses that some of these businesses have faced. So it's really cool to kind of just search. I've talked to some friends and family. They're like, I wonder if the business that I work for got PPP money. And I'll just type it in and be like, here it is. They got $1 million or they got $20 or whatever it is. So that's kind of been a fun one that just went up on our website.
So what did it take for you guys to be able to compile this list? Because I thought there was a similar one that was put out maybe a year or two ago.
Yes. Yep. So it took a little bit, but the federal government finally put out all the data in an Excel chart, or a bunch of Excel charts. So there was some last year. We had an update in the summer, but there's since been a second round of PPP funding in 2021. Not nearly as much as 2020, but I think about half as much. So the application period finally closed in May. So this is pretty much our final data here. So you can search, and it includes both the 2020 data and the 2021 data. And I got to give a hat tip to our data guy, Scott Levin, because there was more than 300,000 different line items in these charts. And he got it all together in a searchable database where I can just type in the city or the county or the business name. And it does take a minute to load because there's 300,000 entries. Once the page loads, you should be fine and be able to search whatever you want. So it's kind of cool to look at the different ones. For example, there's 21 businesses that got the full $10 million in Michigan. And I was looking through some of the different names. One of them owns a bunch of Applebee's. One of them owns a bunch of Taco Bells. And there's also Crane Communications, which has Cranes Detroit, was also one of the $10 million ones. But then there's a lot that got even just a few dollars. So it's kind of interesting to look at the different range.
So here's one of the things I like to do is once you go to that and then go to some of the companies with the SEC and see how much their CEOs and their COOs are making as well. So just a little fun thing that I like to do.
Yeah, and
when I can't sleep.
The first round of PPP went to businesses 500 employees and smaller, and then they realized there was a lot of well-off businesses that were starting to get money, so they really tried to tighten it down for the second round. It was 300 employees or less, and who knows if some bigger businesses still got through, but it's easy now. We can search and find anyone and see what they got.
We're talking with Taylor DeSormeau, right?
DeSormeau. I tell people to think DiGiorno.
DiGiorno.
That works pretty well. So DeSormeau, yep.
DeSormeau with us here on the Megacast. And Taylor, it's unemployment in the state of Michigan. What a joke. I mean, just what a joke. Come on, you're a state agency and they can't seem to fix it. I mean, this goes back decades, not just through the pandemic.
It's been really rough, no doubt. And obviously the latest one is 650,000 Michiganders got letters that said, hey, the state, we screwed up and put reasons for unemployment that weren't actually supposed to be there. So if you picked one of these reasons, you either have to pick a different reason or you have to pay the money back. And it's just been a disaster. And this is federal money too. So even if people did pay it back, this wouldn't go to the state, it would go back to the federal government. And the federal government has already said, hey, if the state makes any mistakes in offering unemployment to people who shouldn't have got it, then you can just let them have it. Like, just give them a waiver, and it's a mistake, but it should be over with. But the state's trying to claw back that money. And the problem is they've given people only 20 days to go and fill out this new paperwork and figure out if they're eligible or not. So really the clock is ticking. And while they're focused on getting these people who are mostly eligible to get the payments, to get that money back, meanwhile, there's people that are still trying to call, still trying to get their unemployment, who have waited weeks and months and can't get the money that they've earned. And then meanwhile, there's also a lot of people committing fraud and stealing. There's been people found to be stealing millions of dollars from the unemployment agency. So the people who should be getting it aren't. The people who are trying to steal it have been successful. Go figure.
Taylor, I feel like just trying to cover the unemployment here in the state of Michigan could be your full-time focus, and you still probably wouldn't be able to figure it all out.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's going to happen next, though? Do you think they're going to get a full overhaul of the system, or just continue to try to, put a Band-Aid on it and, keep it alive some way or another?
Yeah, I mean, right now they're just trying to get through this and get back to normal levels. Obviously, we're still paying the extra $300 per month and the federal unemployment through September 4th in Michigan. So I think once we get to that point, things will calm down a little bit and we'll be able to look back and kind of hopefully see what went wrong. A lot of it has to go through the legislature, but hopefully these past 16 months have really opened people's eyes to, hey, the system is broken. We need to fix it. We need to make sure that we're better prepared, because obviously it has been pretty much a train wreck.
So are other states going through similar problems with their unemployment systems?
Yeah, I've heard various issues. And Michigan actually has more money in their unemployment fund. Some states have run out of money and they're really scrambling. So Michigan's a little bit better off there, but there's definitely been lots of fraud nationwide. People have been bouncing around state to state and stealing money. And it's just, before the pandemic, you pretty much had to go to the unemployment office, and it took a little longer to figure out, but you had to go there in person, and they figured it out. And they tried to streamline it to make it quicker and do it through the phone and through the computer. But obviously that makes fraud a little easier too. So they definitely have some tough questions to think about once this all ramps down, and hopefully they can pay people quicker and not let the fraud through, but they haven't been very good at determining which is which.
So with that too, I love that you were paying attention to the Michigan Restaurant Meal Program, because again, someone stood in front of a podium, did a headline, but you discovered that the program never launched. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So there's this program that the governor and some other people in the state pitched in December and said, hey, this is a great program. We're going to be able to, for people who are on food stamps or bridge cards, instead of just being able to use it at the grocery store, they can use it and get takeout from a local restaurant. And it's perfect because there's a lot of people needing money right now because of unemployment. So it'll help people get food that they need. And then also it'll help restaurants, because at that time restaurants were closed. They were really suffering. They maybe were open for takeout, but that's about it. So this was really built, kind of sold as a really two-headed way to help us get through the pandemic winter. That's what they said. So we were like, okay, that sounds like a great idea. We wrote the story up. In March, we're like, I don't think I've heard anything about this program. We go to the website and it says, we'll have the list of restaurants that are participating soon. We'd ask the state, still nothing. April, still nothing. May, still nothing. June, still nothing. So we're talking to the state. We're like, this was supposed to help people through the winter. That the restaurants are already back open. They don't really need this now. They have plenty of demand. So what's going on? And they're like, well, we have a few restaurants that we're still waiting on the feds to approve it. So they kept pushing it off and saying that the federal government needs to approve this before it can go into place. And the problem is they had no timeline on when that would be done. and still mid-July, we have nothing. So there's this program has definitely been a failure so far. We haven't heard anything. I went to the website again this morning, and it still says the same thing it said in December, that we're hoping to publish a list of the restaurants soon. We were able to get the number of restaurants that are participating in this, or that have signed up to be in it so far. And well, I'll just tell you, it's not very impressive. There's 16,000 or so restaurants in Michigan, and 38 have signed up. Oh my God. 1%. So even if it did start, there's so many that don't want to partake. And it's really interesting because in the initial press releases in December, there was a restaurant up in the UP that said, hey, we're really proud we're going to be one of these restaurants that takes part in this. We want to help out the community. This is a great program. And I called them up and they said, actually, we're not going to be participating in this anymore. Why not? And they said, well, we thought that you could just use the benefits just like money, but there's been lots of hoops to jump through, and it really doesn't work out very well for the people or for us. So we decided that this isn't a program that's worth our time, and it's not going to really help people. And this was the one place that the state said, hey, these people are doing it, you should do it too. So I think that kind of says a lot about the program and how it's being set up. Here's hoping they'll figure it out and get it together maybe by next winter, that you can use your bridge card and your SNAP benefits for takeout at restaurants, especially for people who don't have kitchens that can't maybe make their own food. This is a good way to help feed them, but it's definitely not been the success that the state sold it to in December. So that's a little bit disappointing.
I always wonder as well, before they jump in front of the cameras, what type of work is being done behind the scenes to know that, hey, this isn't going to work? Like, shouldn't you try to put it in place and make sure it works before you make it a headline?
Right. And we'll never know if this was something that they thought could actually be put in place within a few weeks, or if they were just kind of putting it out there to be, here's our shiny new thing, please forget about it afterward.
Again, we're talking with Taylor DeSormeau. He's a reporter for MLive. He covers the economy for the state of Michigan. And with that, Taylor, so with the story with the PPP loans, how can people search that? Just go to MLive? Is it behind the subscription wall at all?
So this one is one that's not behind the paywall, which I'm very happy to say. So anybody can go on the website and look it up. The story headline right now should be near the top on MLive. It's Michigan got $24 billion in PPP money. Here's who got the most. So that's the headline to look for. Yeah, it's super simple. I can type in any business name on here. And I think a lot of people don't really know that even the business that they work for might have been eligible and received some money. And it's also interesting when there's maybe some lawmakers out there who are saying, we don't think that unemployed people should be getting this money or whatever, or these are government handouts, and then you go see that their business received $3 million. It's like, well, this is kind of a government handout as well. So there's definitely mixed opinions on it, but I think for the most part, people are very happy that this PPP program was put together, and we're happy that it's being transparent, that you can see who got the money.
Well, Taylor, great work by you and your team, and putting that together. 300,000 lines of data that had to take a major overhaul, to be able to get that up and running. There was definitely lots of reason.
Yeah, we had to send our data guy to a place with better internet because it wasn't good enough where he was. It was taking forever. So, but we're glad that it's all together now.
Hey, Taylor, how could people follow you if they want to read your stories? Are you on social?
Yes, I'm on social media. The biggest one, I post most of my stories to Twitter, so I'm at @DeSormeau as well. Basically, you can find our stories on MLive.com. There's links to our name, and if you click on our name, you can see all the stories we've written and our email address as well. So feel free to reach out to me anytime, anybody out there. If you have any statewide economy stories you want to pitch or things you're hearing, we'd love to hear more.
Well, great. It's been great having you. We appreciate your time and continue to do good work.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being on with you guys.
We'll take a break here on the MegaCast. When we come back, Chief Barron from the Southfield Police Department will be with us on the MegaCast.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to MIShotToWin.com.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid. Can I ask you a question? Why did you get vaccinated?
I'd like to go to these school dances and spring break to have fun.
I want to be in person for college next semester.
I want to get out of this pandemic.
I wanted to protect the people around me.
Why did you get vaccinated?
Because I'm really looking forward to hanging out with my friends.
I just want to go to a show, dance around, not have to worry about anything, feel like I'm free again.
So we can not miss out on the best years of our life.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function.
Which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to MIShotToWin.com.
The Trevor Project is sharing how you can support LGBTQ youth who may be at risk.
It's simple. Just show them that you care. C-A-R-E. Connect. If you noticed any warning signs of suicide from someone you know, reach out to them.
Ask. Ask directly, are you thinking about killing yourself? It might be challenging, but talking about suicide is proven to reduce risk.
Respond. If they open up to you about their suicidal ideation, honor that trust by responding with compassion and empathy.
Empower. Talking openly is a great first step, but now you can empower them with the information and the support they need to improve their situation.
Learn more about how you can show them you care and help prevent LGBTQ youth suicide. Visit trvr.org/care.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to the MegaCast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Tyler Keefe, and together we will get through this Monday. It's been a bit of a challenging morning for us here on the show today.
Yeah, it's this Monday has a case of the Mondays. Let's just say it's been a day already.
Hey, but I am excited to bring in our next guest. I don't think we've had him on the show, have we?
No, we have not.
So Chief Alvin Barron joins us here on the MegaCast. He's with the Southfield Police Department. And Chief, I should say congratulations on 2 years, right? This month?
That's right. As of July 29th, it will be 2 years with the Southfield Police Department.
Look at that. After more than 20 with Detroit Police?
Yes, ma'am. Served 21 years with the Detroit Police Department. I left as a deputy chief at that time, where I oversaw the largest portion of the DPD with all the East Side precincts, all the tactical units, and many of you remember me from managing all of the protests and all the critical incidents, such as barricaded gun persons.
Well, Detroit Police, definitely a good training ground. I remember when you left and you got the job in Southfield, what a loss for Detroit, but what a huge win for the city of Southfield to have you and your experience come to the city. 2 years on the year, and a year and a half of that has spent in the middle of a pandemic. What's this time been like for you?
Yeah, and the pandemic, as with all agencies, was very challenging. Trying to make sure that when we responded to calls for service, that we did it in a safe manner for our officers as well as the community. As an example, we used our dispatchers, and I always want to give our dispatchers much credit, particularly during the pandemic, because they were able to receive calls, ask those very important questions about recent travel, which gave our officers an idea of what's happening in that home. If anyone's sick, we were able to prepare our response by making sure we had our proper PPE to protect us as well as the individuals we were going to service. So a very challenging time, but we got through it.
So with that, Chief, if I can ask, because we do know that this is a challenging time for law enforcement in general, what's it been like for you looking at it from the top cop job there in Southfield and trying to build that community relationship, but also trying to hire people to come into law enforcement right now?
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate to have a community in Southfield that's very receptive of the police department. They're very engaged, they're active. As an example, I have a Chiefs Advisory Board, which has about 40 residents who give me advice. We share information, I provide training. And during those conversations, we're able to express what the city needs. And I'll give you an example. Domestic violence is something that we've seen increase during this pandemic, and this is a national increase in domestic violence incidents. But we were able to respond by organizing a high-risk response team for domestic violence. And what that means is representatives of the court, and I'm talking about judges and prosecutors, public safety officials, our good friends from Haven and the Southfield Domestic Violence Group. And we have monthly meetings where we do case reviews. We hold each other accountable to ensure that nothing slips past the cracks as it relates to domestic violence response. And that was a huge example of community partnerships coming together during a difficult time.
Again, we're talking with Chief Alvin Barron here on the MegaCast. He's with the Southfield Police Department. I know that you haven't been on the job that long, but yet you have already implemented several other new programs. Do you want to talk about some of those?
Yeah, and we're very big in Southfield Police Department on our youth engagement. And oftentimes, I often share what we're doing in Southfield on our Facebook page and also my personal page, so the community knows what's going on. And I'll give you an example when it comes to our youth. And so right now, due to recent events nationally, certainly with the murder of George Floyd, a lot of our youth are angry, they're upset, and they're confused. And so we put together a program of what to do if stopped by the police. It was very successful, very well attended by our youth and their parents, where we simulated traffic stops and gave them the opportunity to see what it's like to go through an encounter with the police department, know what their rights are as it relates to citizen driving, know what they can expect from a police officer, specifically a Southfield police officer, in the area of professionalism and training. And so this initiative was very well received. Our youth understood now the aspects of being involved in the police encounter, and now they know how to conduct themselves, and again, know what their rights are as relates to police officers and what to do if they're not satisfied with police service during that encounter.
So with that, Chief, how important has social media been to you and your team to try to reach the community in the pandemic? Because we do know, too, a lot of people still aren't comfortable going out in public.
Yeah, social media has been very valuable, as nothing else, getting the word out. Again, we do a lot of different community events, community initiatives, and what better way to reach our youth, reach other citizens who may not have access to the internet by way of being at home on TV. Oftentimes, people use their phones as a way to get their information, and it's been very valuable. When I'm talking about Facebook, Twitter, because a lot of times the information that we put out is shared through these different networks by our community members and residents. So it's been very helpful.
So with that, obviously we know that you worked under Chief Craig, and one thing Chief Craig was very good at was utilizing social media to help tell the department's story, but also to tell his story. Anytime he did an interview with the media, they live streamed it. What lessons did you learn from working under Chief Craig?
Well, Chief Craig served as my mentor. Certainly, I recognize him for giving me an opportunity. If you recall, the assignments that I had at the Detroit Police Department were critical assignments, and he trusted me with those assignments. And as a result, the Detroit Police Department, under my leadership, maintained protests where they were not of any unrest. When it came to me managing critical incidents such as barricaded gun persons, we had minimal incidents of casualties. We were able to resolve those incidents at a high volume with peace and no injury to the suspect or, an example, any hostages that may have been involved. So Chief Craig continues to be a good friend of mine. We continue to talk to this day. And again, I did learn a lot from him as to how to utilize the media. Because there's no secret, before my arrival to the city of Southfield, the media outlets didn't get a whole lot of cooperation from the police department. But knowing what I learned, that the media is very valuable at sharing information and resolving issues. And I'll give you a quick example. When we were recently accused of misconduct by an individual on social media platform who made false allegations that we threw him to the ground and we walked away as if nothing happened. We treated him so terribly. Well, the body-worn cameras presented a different view of that encounter where we were very respectful, we were very patient with this young man, and it was a disappointment that he chose to have a false narrative. But again, that's another way that social media can be of a balance, because when he put that information out, many people believed it right away, but it was our counter with the media and social media that was able to resolve that and assure the community that that did not happen in this police department.
You know, talking with a lot of police officers, for them, they're happy that they finally have some of the cameras, because it's like, you know, in situations just like that, it, is really for their safety more so than for the public safety as well.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, and again, I was accustomed to having body-worn cameras in Detroit. As you know or may not know, my top priority when I arrived at the Southfield Police Department was to get body-worn cameras for this agency. And so initially, you had a split thought process with the officers. Some were eager to get them, some not so much. But we moved very quickly, ensuring that we got the body-worn cameras, and the benefits have been very, very much received by the officers. Because oftentimes we do get false complaints. In addition to the one I just shared, we get other complaints that are false relative to demeanor, procedure, or even use of force. And since we implemented this process in my leadership, almost all of the complaints have been resolved with unfounded, because the body cameras showed exactly what happened, and the officers now understand the value in having this, because as you articulated, it does protect the city, it does protect the officers from false allegations and false liability.
Now, I'm going to tell you, though, Chief, I'd be the type of person I would forget to turn it off when I went to use the potty. I mean, come on. Oh boy. I've done that before, like with the mic, and you had the mic on, and then they could hear you in the studio, and it's like, you know, it happens. Come on. We keep it real here on the Megacast, Chief.
Yeah, those things happen, and when those things happen, the officer, all they need to do is alert their supervisor, and we're able to make sure that is grabbed and taken out.
Yeah, because you don't want to FOIA that. I FOIA all the time.
Who would?
Exactly. And before we get off that conversation of body cameras, because this police chief, this police department, I maintain a balance. So if we, in this business of policing, or a member of this agency crosses the line in policing, because our policy states that with any contact with the citizens, the body-worn cameras must be activated. And so what that translates to you and your listening audience, if we do something that defies the badge, this police chief will hold members accountable just as equally as I support them when they do right.
Chief Alvin Barron with us here on the Megacast with the Southfield Police Department. I will say, when I heard that James Craig was retiring, I was wondering, were you going to be heading back to the D? You know, I was like, ooh, Southfield might be worried there.
Yeah, so it was a lot of conversations about me returning to Detroit, a lot of media inquiries, a lot of conversations in homes. And so I'm going to start off by thanking the city of Detroit for at least wanting me to come back. It was a good feeling that they really wanted me to come back and sit that seat. And also thank the citizens of Southfield and the Southfield Police Department who had anxiety because they did not want me to depart and go back to the city that I love as well. And so at this time, I'm going to stay committed to the city of Southfield. As I mentioned before, as we discussed, we'll have 2 years with the Southfield Police Department, and I want to show some consistency. Leaving right now would be more harmful to the agency. More work needs to be done. I'm in the process of mentoring some lieutenants and some sergeants. And so I want to continue to work with the community I've bonded with. And so that doesn't mean at some point I won't leave to go to another agency, because I do have long-term plans of maybe being a major city police chief, whether that's here in Detroit or somewhere else. But right now, I'm committed to the city of Southfield and the Southfield Police Department.
Well, they're definitely very lucky to have you. But I have to tell you, Chief, you have some competition when it comes to getting attention. Because first, we had the Troy Police Department that had the cat. You know, the cat went national. Now we have Bloomfield Township Police that got a doodle, a little dog that they've named Maggie. She's going to be a therapy dog. I don't know. What do you? I think there's some competition there, Chief. What are you guys going to get?
Well, you know what? We don't have anything right now, but now that you're spinning my mind into what we could possibly get as some type of addition in the area of connecting with the community. So that's something I'll think about. I'll poll the officers in our agency, get some of their ideas, and maybe we may come up with something in the near future.
I'll tell you what I think you guys should do is get one of those, either a baby goat or like a baby pig, you know, those little miniature pigs for a cop. Come on, that'd be great. And you could dress it up. They do. They put the little tutus on those little piggies.
My God.
Well, you know, I don't think that the pig one would be received. As you know, some of the negative conversations about cops and that animal, but we'll look at other ideas and maybe we'll come up with something.
No, there was that police department and there was someone's pig and it got out, and so the police department, they caught the pig and they had it in the back of the cruiser, and you know, and they had a little fun with it, and again, it went national, you know.
Yeah.
Well, Chief, we so appreciate your time, and again, the citizens of Southfield are so lucky to have you. You're already doing great things there in the city, and like I said, 2 years and a year and a half of that's been spent in a pandemic. So we wish you the best, and thank you again for your time, Chief.
Hey, and thank you for having me, and I look forward to being back on your show sometime in the future.
Well, we would love to have you. Again, Chief Barron with us here on the Megacast. We'll take a quick break. Just about 20 minutes left here in the show. And when we come back, we're going to have a conversation about some of the students and how many kids are actually leaving our public school system right now because of the pandemic. That's next here on the Megacast.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate. So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking. Thank you for taking time out of your Monday to be with us here on the Megacast. Just about 15-20 minutes left in the show. And as a reminder, if you've been unable to catch an interview or the Megacast, you can always go back and watch previous episodes. Just go to civiccentertv.com. And this has been an extremely challenging year for our educators and our kids, and we know that some parents, because of the pandemic and being remote and being in person and back and forth, they have opted to take their kids out of the public school system. So enrollment is declining. But what does that look like and what does that mean? We want to go ahead and bring in Claire Hout. She's the manager of the District of Pupil Services. Great to have you with us. How are you today, Carolyn?
I'm good, thank you.
Can you tell us exactly, Oakland Schools, what do you guys do for the various districts? What is your mission?
So Oakland Schools is the regional educational service agency for Oakland County. It serves both the traditional local school districts and the charter schools that are in our county. So we serve just under 200,000 kids. And we provide everything from regional services and special ed, monitoring and compliance, to some other regional services, even including business and technology type services. My department, which is pupil services, we handle the pupil audits, the 2 count days, which are critical, and also truancy, school attendance issues, and we also support efforts in school safety. So those are kind of our arms of Oakland Schools.
I will say, in all my years of reporting, I didn't know that your agency existed. Are you located back there behind where the Summit Place Mall was?
Correct. Yes, we used to be at 2100 North Telegraph. That is now a county building, and we are across the street.
I like the color that you're painting it, by the way. It's sprucing it up. It's looking much better over there.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I mean, the history of ISDs, and I explain it to people who haven't heard of ISDs, intermediate school districts, or regional educational service agencies, is that they really are the kind of like county government is to our local communities, city, villages, and townships. So we work with the State Board of Ed and the State Department of Ed, as well as all the local school districts, just like the county works with the state and its local school districts, but we are completely autonomous, kind of like the county. But we do have some millages that we support, which is also the special ed and voc ed millages. So our 4 tech centers in our county are supported with taxpayer money, and they are run by Oakland schools. So that's probably the item that most are familiar with when you talk about Oakland schools is the 4 tech centers.
So with that too, Carolyn, can we talk a little bit about the decline? How do you even go about tracking it in the middle of a year when it's been a pandemic and it's been hard to track some of the kids?
Right. So going back to last year, because I think you're really talking about last year. So our 2021 school year, we had known last summer because the pandemic we closed schools around March 13th in year 2020. So we knew over the summer that we were going to have some challenges with regard to school attendance and what it was going to look like in school enrollment. So we were working pretty hard during that summer. In my department, for example, we were doing things like you can't take the school year off, that we have a lot of options in our county, including the traditional local school districts, the charter schools, but also the private schools and homeschooling. So we were just trying to get the message out that there's lots of ways to educate, but we do have a compulsory school attendance law. So every child between the ages of 6 to 18 is supposed to be in school. And last year, the 2021 school year, we did have more than we expected drop in student enrollment. You have to know we are a state that we do have declining student enrollment, and our Department of Ed had warned us they say on average we lose about 13,000 kids a year statewide. And so we were expecting a loss, but we weren't expecting the over 6,000 kids we lost. However, I know every school district put their boots on the ground and were contacting families. We were contacting families on behalf of school districts, and we really discovered kind of 3 patterns. First, and the most important one was probably our kindergarten enrollment. It dropped the most, and kindergarten families, and I can't really blame them. They said, with this idea that it's going to be virtual or hybrid, or we just don't know, we think we're just going to take this year off. Kindergarten is not a mandatory age. We do not require 5-year-olds to go to school, so there was no kindergarten mandate to go to school.
See, I didn't know that. So you can start your kid in 1st grade?
We wouldn't recommend it.
Right.
And in fact, we're hoping they're getting even some more early. We know the benefits of early childhood education. That's another strength of Oakland schools. We promote a lot of those Head Start, Great Start, GSRP programs across our county. No, we wouldn't recommend it, but we discovered that that's what a lot of families did. And that probably made up probably a third of our student loss was just the postponement of kindergarten. So honestly, the question for me this year, and I don't have the answer, is are these families going to enroll these kids in kindergarten, or are they going to enroll them in 1st grade? Because now they'll be 6. So, and I'm sure every district is taking a look at that. And we're probably going to have a increase in enrollment in either kindergarten or in 1st grade, depending on where that parent decides their kid is ready for. The other thing we know, so our first branch is kind of that kindergarten. The second branch is private schools. I don't know if you read that recent article in the Sunday Oakland Press, July 11th, but they did some research because I had shared with that reporter that I had no way of determining how our private schools were doing. I don't get their numbers. I don't know what their grade level enrollment was, and we had a significant increase in our county of private school enrollment based on that article, and that made up another couple thousand kids. So if 2,000 kids were for kindergarten and 2,000 kids were in the private schools, we are really now down to about 2,000 kids we didn't know what happened to. But we also know there were parents who homeschooled, who had decided, we're going to just take this on ourselves. It's already challenging enough trying to work from home and keeping kids caught up at home, so we're going to do it ourselves. We also had families who enrolled in the cyber schools. And in fact, our cyber school enrollment, which is the 100% online schools, their enrollment exploded this year.
Wow.
Yeah, it exploded this year because they'd been around for years, more than 10 or 20. And so there were families who said, we're not sure we want to do this. We're in school, we're not in school, we might be, we might not. So we had an increased enrollment in even those. So I always chuckled when they said children were missing, because we know parents knew where the children were. Didn't like that phrase, missing children. But we did have, every school district was reaching out to families just to make sure they were enrolled somewhere. That was our expectation and our hope, was that you were at least trying to find out what the families were doing. And we have to admit, we have to be honest, this pandemic caused a lot of challenges and hardship for all of us. So there were some families who said, it's just too tough this year. It's just not going to work for us. And in those families, we really just tried to promote, reading and math type skills, just to keep that child as much up to grade level as we could. So we're really hoping we're going to see a rebound this year in all kinds of school enrollment. We do expect the public schools enrollment will increase from last year's levels. That's the hope and the expectation.
Yeah, because you wonder if for some of the parents that had decided to homeschool, if they realize how much of a chore it is, because we do know, too, kids will listen differently if it is a teacher than maybe they would their parent or a loved one that was trying to homeschool them. Carolyn Clarehout with us here on the Megacast. She's with Oakland Schools, the manager of District Pupil Services. And what do you think is going to be the long-term impact of the pandemic?
Well, that's really going to be a big question. I know that our schools are preparing a lot for the mental health and trauma supports that our students need, because it's going to be very hard to learn until we can get past the social emotional issues. So I think there's lots of families who are looking forward to returning back to school. I do think homeschooling is challenging, but there are families who do a great job at it. But it's challenging and it takes a lot of time. So I am hoping we're going to rebound relatively quickly. I am not an educator, so I don't know all the strategies they have in place, but I know they've been working on it for the whole year about how we can, I don't want to say catch up people, but just restore people to where they should have been hopefully by the end of this year. And I think over time we're going to see how that comes out. I can't predict. I'm hoping it's not going to be as bad as the worst predictors say. I'm hoping it's going to be a solid rebound
and with
for
that,
most and families.
Yeah, and with that, Carolyn, if I can ask, how hard has it been for you and your team? Because even the count day, which has been happening forever, you couldn't even rely on that this year. I forget what was finally decided, if they did do it, if they didn't do it, and remote and.
We had a count day, but we had lots of different things qualify for attendance. We called last year pandemic learning, and the state and the legislature gave us lots of options on how you could actually count a student in attendance. So that was a great relief for last year. We don't have all those options for next year. So our next school year, the 21-22 school year, will be going back to quantifying attendance based on how it was in the past. So we'll have, attendance in every class on count day. And for those who are in virtual and cyber programs, we'll have, again, attendance in every class, which means you're doing some assignments, or the weekly interactive idea that we had, and we've always had, but used much more frequently last year. So, and it has been challenging in the truancy and the pupil accounting, but frankly, we've been focusing on what we call family engagement, just trying to check in with families, make sure their kid is getting some sort of schooling last year. That's really what our primary focus was. And it will be our primary focus even next year, is reaching out to our community partners and others to re-engage our families and our students into school.
Carolyn, do they still have the truant officers?
Yeah, we have school attendance officers.
That sounds so much better.
I know. Most think it's punitive. Honestly, how we work in our county is what we call the 3 A's: attendance plus attachment equals achievement. We're really trying to encourage that child to attend school, find a reason for that child to stay in school, because we know if we can get them to attend, they will achieve. So we tap into school resources, community resources. In fact, we have a county-wide protocol and a county-wide truancy task force that's been in place since 2005. And we've really been just working on what we call chronic absenteeism and trying to reduce those chronic absenteeism levels.
Carolyn, Claire Hout with us here on the Megacast. She's the manager of District Pupil Services for Oakland Schools. Carolyn, just another minute here with you. Anything that I didn't ask that you want to add before we say goodbye?
No, I think you covered everything. I just hope that our listeners will get their kids in school, any kind of school. We're hoping just to have a very successful school year next year.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We don't have a surge with the Delta variant, and we can get the kids back in the classrooms. And I know the teachers would love that as well. It's so hard for them to teach and be remote and in person. So fingers crossed, right?
Absolutely.
Well, we so appreciate your time. Thank you for being with us.
No problem. Thank you.
Again, I didn't even know they existed and what they really did. So it was great to have her on to kind of explain what the Oakland schools and what they do for us.
Yeah, they do a lot of great work over there, run a lot of programs and assist all of our school districts here in the Oakland County area, especially during this year where they've had to up their game, not only Oakland schools, but these districts individually. And there's been a lot to navigate and a lot of different programs statewide and federally that they needed to navigate as well to be able to provide the best education possible during the pandemic, during a time of crisis, and they've done great work over there.
Well, it's so hard to keep up with the kids because what you don't want is to have some of these kids fall through the cracks. Right. And we know that when you're talking about that many kids, it's easy to do. Especially, if you have some parents, one parent lives in one state, one lives in the other, and without that going into the classroom all the time, it can be easy to lose track of them, but also how they're doing in school. So it'd be great if we can get our kids back in the classroom come the fall time.
Yeah, it would be. And that's why I like the approach that Carolyn took at the end of that interview, which was simply saying, we want to get kids back in school, whether it's an Oakland school or not, get your kid back in school because we want to make sure that our kids' learning is long-term especially is not affected or is affected as little as possible by this crisis that we've been dealing with over this past year plus.
So many things as we continue to emerge, hopefully, from the pandemic. With that, that'll wrap it up for the Monday edition of the Megacast. Thank goodness. We'll be back tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. This has been the Megacast.